So, Constantine Stanislavski. He was a Russian chap who was around knocking about at the late 1800s, early 1900s, and made one of the biggest contributions to actor training, it's fair to say. And he created a company called the Moscow Arts Theatre. And the desire or the ethos was basically to create work that was completely real, authentic and believable, and was capable of having a form of what he called spiritual communion with the audience. So it was very deep, it was very profound work he was looking to create. Very different from the imitators and the mechanical acting that was happening at the time. And a lot of acting was full of cliche at that time. And so he decided that in order to really get the best out of the actor, rather than just trying to take them in the middle of their career when they'd learned a lot of bad habits, etc., he decided that he wanted to train them from scratch. And so what he did was he brought on board a number of teachers to teach the system for him to his students. And I guess initially all was going well. But then something happened, which was the teachers began to realize that the Stanislavski system had too many moving parts within it. So they started to modify it. They started to change it because they thought, well, look, what we're trying to do is make actors more creative. We're trying to release them creatively. But at the moment, they're thinking about too many things all at the one time. For example, in the system, Stanislavski's system, they would need to think about units, and they would need to think about actions, and they need to think about emotional or affective memory, and they need to think about their physicality, and they would need to think about their voice, rhythm and tempo. All of these things were part of the system. Now, what and two main people came along actually, began to sort of, I guess, in a very sort of under the wire way, challenge this concept. And their names were Eugene van Tangoff and Nikolai Demidoff. And what they did was that they started to work in a more organic approach. They still kept the ethos of what they were trying to achieve, but they started to tweak and change the system. So, and in the end, basically, completely different techniques arose. In Nikolai Demidoff's case, a completely different organic approach to acting emerged. And Stanislavski thought that Nikolai Demidoff was one of the few people in the world that truly understood his system. So that tells you something. So when I say, is the Stanislavski system dead? Well, we have to think that actually, if at the time when Stanislavski was even alive, that his teachers were modifying and changing the approach, then can we say that as it stood, that it really worked in the way that he wanted it to work? So when you're thinking about the Stanislavski system, in my opinion, it's best not to actually think of it in all its spinning and moving parts. You're actually wanting to look for a technique that brings together a more synergetic sort of approach to the process that allows a freedom and creativity in the actor, rather than boxing them in, trying to do a checklist of different things that they're meant to be doing within a scene, for example. And I highly recommend, Eugene van Tangoff, Nikolai Demidoff. These are people that I myself bring in their work to the stuff that I'm teaching. And of course, complemented further by the work of Lee Strasberg, who was heavily influenced by Eugene van Tangoff. So there we have it, a short history lesson and the reasons why I would put forward, maybe controversially so, that the Stanislavski system is dead, and probably has been for a very long time. It just hasn't made its way to the West yet. It's only recently, for example, that we learnt about the work of Nikolai Demidoff. So there we go. There we have it. So if you want more information, go to my website at briantimonyacting.co.uk.